Well, I'm going to do a beer review. How about a beer review? Been a while since I've done a beer review. I wasn't going to do a beer review. I did a story 53 about an hour ago. And that story is called Trapped on a Sinking Ship with No Hope. And it's kind of an inspirational story based upon some events recently in my life. And I realized that before I made story 53, this evening I went to the store, bought dinner, and picked up a 6-pack of beer for $9.99, 6 of these bottles of Great Lakes Brewing Company. They're Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. Porter's a style of beer, if you don't know. Just a dark ale, dark beer. Pretty ambiguous. So it's named the Edmund Fitzgerald, and that's after a ship that sank on the Great Lakes in 1975. And some of you might recall, some of you old timers like me might recall Gordon Lightfoot's song on it. It went something like this. I'm going to do a beer review. Not sing that song for you. Sorry. Yes, so Great Lakes Brewing Company's Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. Made to commemorate the sinking of a ship in November 10th, 1975, carrying a load of iron ore, as the song goes. And I don't mean to make light of it. 29 men lost their lives on it, and they sank in one of the Great Lakes. I'm not sure which, but I'll post it at the end of this. I live on the Great Lakes. Lake Ontario is one of the smaller Great Lakes in northern New York. And I can tell you what, I can't speak for the other lakes that are even bigger than it. Lake Erie is the smallest. Lake Ontario is number 2, and the other Great Lakes are huge. And Lake Ontario in bad weather, to me, looks like the ocean. It could sink a ship, and it has sunk plenty of ships. So in 1975, this relatively modern freighter went down with all hands during a gale in November. And this is a porter, which is a style of beer that originated in London in the early 18th century. Porters, I guess you made your living as a porter along the river, the Thames River, and elsewhere in London. Back then, in the olden days, you basically carried people's luggage or help fix things. You're just pretty much a handyman, there to carry their luggage, help people along, fix things, whatever you're called to do. And so I guess they worked pretty hard and didn't make a lot of money, but when the day was done, they went to the old pub and they developed their own beer style, which was a strong, dark beer. And a porter is just a dark beer. I used to love Yuengling's out of Pennsylvania. It used to be out of Pennsylvania. Yuengling's Porter used to be my favorite beer, and you can't get it anymore. Why? God. So I've never had this, and I'm looking forward to this. And, well, I made a story a little over an hour ago, story 53, when your ship is sinking and you have no hope. And it's an inspirational story, but I realized that just by some kind of coincidence, earlier today I picked this up at the store, and this beer commemorates the sinking of a ship with all hands at night. And I thought, wow, what a coincidence that I would buy this beer when I made that story. I didn't plan it this way. It just worked out that way. So this beer, I had a bunch of stuff I was going to read about it, but I couldn't, my printer messed up. It's 6% alcohol by volume, which makes it a fairly strong beer. It is 37 IBUs, International Bitterness Units, which means they put a fair amount of hops in this beer to balance the alcohol. Looking it up online, I saw it got very high grades by Beer Advocate, and RateBeer.com gave this beer almost a perfect, and I mean a lot of people, like over 1,000 people, rated this beer very, 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 almost perfect, 95%. And I've never seen that on a beer yet. So I'm expecting great things from this beer. Great Lakes Brewing Company was founded in 1988 by the Conway brothers. The Conway brothers still run Great Lakes Brewing Company, and the company's doing quite well, from what I understand. And these two brothers immigrated here from Ireland, and in 1988 opened a brewery in Cleveland, Ohio. And I can tell you, being a longtime beer drinker and a lover of craft beers, namely porters, and ales, stouts, IPAs, I like these beers before 99% of Americans ever even heard of them. I used to go all the way to Britain just to drink their beer because you couldn't get it here for the most part. Now you can. Very good examples of it. And all right, so porter's a dark beer. Let's check this out. This beer. Now I had this beer in my freezer too long. So I suppose it's going to be pretty cold. Well, fortunately it did manage to pour. Had a little ice cork in it. Good thing I took it out, or I'd have probably beer and glass all over my chicken and broccoli and everything in there. Well, it's got a pretty dark head to it. Pretty dark tan head. I'll give her the old candle treatment. I mean, I do this when I do my beers just to give you an idea of the color. And as you can see, oh, that looks pretty cool. It looks red. Sometimes they look purple. I couldn't find out what type of grain they put in this, or barley. Breweries, I think they just try to keep that a secret anymore. They used to put it right on there, what they did with them. You know? They don't say anymore. They're pretty smart, because enough craft brewery are opening up that people are probably copying. You could clone people's beer pretty easy. I mean, Fuller's London Porter, that's not what this is. It's a porter, very old one, brewed in London. It's actually the flagship example of what a porter should be, at least an English porter. I actually cloned that beer. I found the recipe for it and I brewed it about 15 years ago, and it came out just like what I was buying in a bottle. I couldn't tell the difference. And yes, I can brew any beer on earth, honest. Now, I sold or gave away all my brewing equipment because I don't brew anymore for reasons I don't need to go into. So what do I think of this beer? I'm sorry, I digress. You can smell the malt up front. I don't smell the hops, but it smells very malty. Yeah, the head stand's got good head retention. Oh, how cold is this beer? I bet it's 34 degrees. No way. 42 degrees Fahrenheit, according to this. How hot's that flame? 206. Just want to make sure this thing's working. Oh, I don't know. My wrist is 90 degrees. So this beer is 42 degrees, according to this. It's pretty cold. As you saw, it had an ice cork in it. I was working out earlier tonight, really worked my arm out. My arm's a little shaky from it. That is very good. Chocolatey, nutty kind of taste. Ah, that's very good. That's very good. I paid $9.95 for a 6-pack at my local modern market. And that's not a bad price for a craft beer. I will tell you that this is actually a very good beer. If you like porter, if you like stout, if you like dark beers in general, you'll like this. I wouldn't say it's easy drinking, but I wouldn't say it's hard to drink either. If you ever see me do a beer review and I do this, when I take my first drink, I make this face. I'm not making this up. If I go, wow, that means it's a pretty hard beer to drink. It's too bitter or something, too much alcohol in it. Now, this is a pretty good balance. Got a nice color to it too. I wouldn't say it's not black to look at it. It's really just a dark brown beer. Compared to Fuller's London Porter, Fuller's London Porter is a very, very robust beer. A lot of flavor in that. Definitely not something you're going to drink a lot. It's a kind of I think it's a pretty strong beer, personally. If you can find Fuller's London Porter, good luck finding it. I haven't seen that in a while, but I recommend trying that if you're interested in the beer style porter. And I recommend trying this, which actually they call it an American porter on their website. And this really is a lighter beer than the British porter. The one I can think of is Fuller's London Porter, which is it's a very good beer, but it's very strong. Strong in all senses of the term strong. I would buy this again. In fact, I will buy this again. I will buy this beer again. For sure. When they gave this on Beer Advocate, if you go to beeradvocate.com, it's where people kind of weigh in from all over the world and they give their opinion on beer, and they do a better review than me. They talk about the back taste and the aroma and all. They gave this beer 95% out of 100, and I have to say I agree with them. I don't know, what else do I say about this? It goes down pretty easy. I wouldn't say it's light. It's not light for sure, but it's not an extremely heavy beer to drink either. It's about the same, if you drink, about the same kind of weight as like a Budweiser. I mean, mouthfeel, weight, you know. But it's got a stronger taste. It's got a chocolatey, kind of a nutty taste to it. And 6% alcohol is pretty well balanced because you don't really get that in the taste. Balanced by the hops. Balances that and the malt. So, I don't know. What do you think, Earl? He looks like he'd love to have a drink, wouldn't you? Nope. Gave it up, Tim. Gave it up. For good. Oh. Be that way. That's all, folks. Thank you. And if you like beer, if you like dark beer, if you can get your hands on this, Great Lakes Brewing Company's Edmund Fitzgerald Porter, get some of this. It's very nicely priced, and it is definitely a superior example of a porter. Thank you.